Growing a business is kind of tricky right now. Supply chains are squeezed, tariffs and trade policies are dynamic, and cash flow, it's tighter than ever. You need clarity to come out on top. Without it, you risk falling behind. If only you could hop in the DeLorean and see the future, right? Thankfully, there's NetSuite by Oracle. NetSuite has real-time forecasting to help you move ahead with confidence. This is your AI-powered business management suite and the #1 cloud ERP. Trusted by over 42,000 businesses, NetSuite brings accounting, financial management, inventory, and HR all under one roof. It's your single source of truth, giving you the data and control you need to move quickly. And with AI built in, you can automate the busy work and focus on strategy. NetSuite helps you see what's stuck, what it's costing you, and how to pivot fast. If I were running a business with a lot of moving parts, I'd use NetSuite for full control over everything. Tame the chaos with NetSuite. If your revenues are at least in 7 figures, download the free ebook, Navigating Global Trade, 3 Insights for Leaders at netsuite.com/SPI. That's netsuite.com/SPI. You spent months building towards launch day, but when the clock hits 0, your site crashes. Bots swarm, and loyal fans rage on Reddit. That's not good. Fanfare was built to stop that. Fanfare is the drop platform made for high-pressure moments, stampede-proof infrastructure, verified waitlists, and bot filters that actually work. Instead of refunds and rage, you get retention and revenue. And that sounds great to me. Your next launch shouldn't be a gamble. Get Fanfare's 5-step hype drop playbook and learn how to bulletproof your drop at fanfare.io/playbook. Again, that's fanfare.io/playbook. Congrats, your business is doing great. All your hard work is paying off, but you need help like now, and you have to hire fast. How can you hire amazing candidates quickly? Easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. Indeed sponsored jobs help you stand out and hire fast. And with sponsored jobs, your posts jump to the top of the page for your relevant candidates so you can reach people you want faster. And it makes a huge difference. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. One of the things I love most about Indeed is that it has one of the largest databases of job seekers, giving employers access to a wide range of candidates. And with job alerts, I get notified when new candidates apply. And with Indeed sponsored jobs, there's no monthly subscriptions, no long-term contracts, and you only pay for results. So how fast? Well, in the minute that I've been talking to you, 23 hires were made on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. There's no need to wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/smartpassive. Just go to Indeed.com/smartpassive right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/smartpassive. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, Indeed, is all you need.
This is the Smart Passive Income Podcast with Pat Flynn, session number 160. Sugar.
Boom, boom, boom.
Yes,
Boom, boom,
please.
boom.
Come
Boom,
on
boom,
and
boom.
turn on me.
Boom.
Welcome to the Smart Passive Income Podcast, where it's all about working hard now so you can sit back and reap the benefits later. And now your host, the sock-wearing, trumpet-blaring, beat mix master, podcast blaster, Pat Flynn.
While DIY website tools are everywhere, most fall short on design and performance. Hit publish. Framer ships your site worldwide in seconds. No code, no compromises. Framer is a powerful, user-friendly platform that delivers developer-level results without writing a single line of code. Make your designs move and convert with Framer. Framer brings your site to life with powerful animations, dynamic content handling, and a design-first approach that helps your site stand out. Framer is the design-first, no-code website builder that lets anyone ship a production-ready site in minutes. Browse hundreds of pixel-perfect templates or even design something of your own on a totally blank canvas. Add bold animations like appear effects, text effects, scroll and looping animations, and much more in seconds. And it's free to start. The built-in AI handles the heavy lifting of generating starter layouts and can even translate your entire site to any language. On the back end, you'll get responsive breakpoints, built-in hosting, a flexible CMS, and privacy-friendly analytics. Ready to build a site that looks hand-coded without hiring a developer? Launch your site for free at framer.com and use code SPI to get your first month of pro on the house. That's framer.com, promo code SPI. Framer.com, promo code SPI. Rules and restrictions may apply. Running a business means legal questions are inevitable. Is this contract or agreement solid? What can I do if a client won't pay me? Am I set up properly for taxes? Well, rather than trying to navigate all of this on your own or searching endlessly online, Imagine having a law firm on your side without the high hourly rates. That's exactly what Legal Shield's small business plans offer. With Legal Shield, entrepreneurs get access to real legal support, contract reviews, collection letters, guidance on business formation, and even help handling IRS audits. Members can book consultations, upload documents through the app, and work with a provider law firm that understands small business laws in your state. You also get proactive help on tax and trademark questions so you can stay ahead of legal risks. And if a client delays payment, Legal Shield can send professional collection letters to help you recover what you're owed, all for a fraction of what traditional attorneys charge. Go to LegalShield.com/SPI or call 833-570-9980 to learn more and get big business legal support without a big business budget. That's LegalShield.com/SPI.
What's up, everybody? Thank you for joining me in session 160 of the Smart Passive Income Podcast. That intro song I beatboxed was Maroon 5, Sugar, and I highly recommend watching that video. Just, it can't help but make you happy. So Maroon 5, Sugar, check it out. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm really excited because today's guest was introduced to me by somebody who had also introduced a previous guest who had made a huge impact in my life. So Lewis Howes was the connection here. Lewis Howes from lewishowes.com, also a previous guest on this podcast. He's the one who introduced me to Adam Braun, the founder of pencilsofpromise.org, back in episode 102, where he actually inspired me to think beyond the money and bigger and what else I can do to help people. And he's the one who inspired me to do a birthday campaign last year to build a couple schools in Ghana. And for those of you who don't know, just to keep you updated, especially for those of you who donated to that particular campaign, and thank you so much, I'm actually headed there on June 4th. So I'm going to Ghana for a few days. Ghana, Africa, that's right. And I'm going to be bringing Caleb along, my videographer. We're going to be filming the schools. I'm going to show you kind of what you guys made an impact on, and I'll bring that back into, I think, maybe July or August's episodes of SPI TV at watchspitv.com. So look out for that. And again, thank you so much for those of you who have donated to that campaign. It's just, I already know it's going to be a life-changing experience. And speaking of life-changing, today's guest, Dale Partridge, he's an author of a brand new book called People Over Profit with a lot of the same philosophies, thinking beyond just the business and beyond money, but who you can help and for bigger causes and social good. Somebody who I know is going to inspire you like he inspired me. And it's just really exciting to know that, you know, I have friends like Lewis Howes who can connect me to these amazing people who help me think beyond just my immediate network and immediate surroundings and what I could do to help others in a much bigger way. I mean, that's sort of my mantra for the next few years is think bigger. Think bigger. That's why Elon Musk is such a big inspiration to me right now. Just he knows no boundaries in terms of what is possible, and I want to think that way too. And so Adam Braun, thanks to Lewis Howes, and also today's guest, Dale Partridge, all helping me think much bigger. And hopefully this episode and this interview will help you think much bigger too. So here we go. Dale Partridge over at peopleoverprofit.com/SPI. Hey, Dale, what's up? Welcome to the SPA podcast. How are you?
Dude, super stoked to be here.
Man, I'm super stoked for you because you're coming out with a book that has a title that just like super resonates with me, People Over Profit. And we're going to talk about your book and its contents in a little bit. But just first of all, congratulations on the book. And you know, I've had so many people who have been on the show before tell me that, oh, dude, you got to get Dale on the show. And so I'm really excited to have you on.
Awesome. Thanks, man. Yeah, it's been a long journey. Started so many different companies and then finally kind of got a chance to start writing about my philosophy on business. And, you know, people always say, you know, the book's titled People Over Profit, right? So people are like, oh man, you know, is this like socialism or is this some crazy, you know, version of capitalism? Like, no, it's not people instead of profit. It's how we value people over profit. So it's been a cool journey to finally get a chance to share.
Yeah, I love that. And it resonates with something that I always say, which is your earnings are a byproduct of how well you serve your audience. It's something that I'm known for saying. So I'm excited to dive into that. But let's talk about your story a little bit. Like, how did you get started with building companies? And then how did you get to where you're at today?
Yeah, so, you know, I grew up and my dad used to come home in the morning and he would say this quote to me. He'd say, Dale, you know, today I'm wearing the golden handcuffs. And, you know, as a young child, I had no idea what the heck he was talking about. And I realized as I got older that he was saying, Dale, I have a job that's just too good to leave. And he hated his career almost the entirety of my childhood. I remember him walking in and going, gosh, like he couldn't leave. He was making $150,000 a year back in 1990, right?
Yes.
This is incredible. And he had great benefits and it was a great job at General Electric. What I didn't realize is that he was kind of grooming me to be an entrepreneur or a self-enterprising child. I mean, I was always starting businesses and he was always encouraging me and he was always supporting me, from selling selling boxes to collecting cans to selling candy at high school. And like I was a little straight, candy drug dealer in junior high. And as I look back, I realized that this wasn't a statement he was making. I mean, he was making this invitation to me. He was making this invitation of saying, I want you to be an entrepreneur, an invitation to kind of pave my own way. By the time I was actually 19, I started my first company, grew to about 6 employees, sold it for $50,000. Started my second company, which was a rock climbing gym. I started an 8,000 square foot rock climbing gym in Southern California.
Wow.
Grew that to about 20 employees, raised $500,000 to start that, and got fired from my own company, which was probably one of the biggest growth experiences of my life. I realized that I wasn't as great of a leader as I thought I was. Got a chance to have some smack truth reality put into me and pushed me into a season of even more growth. Took some money from that, from getting out of that business and said, hey, I think it's really time to learn how to play the stock market, right? This is like 2006, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Pre-crash, but actually a decent time. I invested in a company that we all love, or that many of us love. It's called Chipotle, because I was an addict of their burritos. And I bought on the day that they IPO'd at $21 a share. I don't know if you looked recently, but they're over $600 a share now. I sold at $121 a share because I thought there's no way that they could get any bigger, right? And lost a bunch of money on solar stocks. Tried to figure out what the heck I was doing in life. I realized that success wasn't fixing me. And I realized that putting 6 figures in my pocket really wasn't making me feel any better about myself. And I wanted to figure out how I could blend purpose and profit. I wanted to figure out how I could kind of flip capitalism upside down. I wanted to figure out what it looked like to create a company that would actually change something in the world. I started, searching everywhere for it. I started a conference company and I wrote another book, and then I started an advertising agency and all with great success. But then it hit me. I had a conversation in the middle of the night, probably about 12:30 at night, with a friend of mine who was spending the night at my house, who had 3 or 4 million fans on Facebook, and we were talking about starting a business together. And we talked about how many charities are going out of business. And we thought, well, why are they going out of business? Is it lack of awareness? Is it lack of funding? We realized that it was both. We thought, what if we create a company that every week we give $7 to every, for every item we sell to this charity. And that was the birth of Sevenly.org, which is probably my largest company that I had started. And this is in 2011. And this was just a roller coaster of life. And a lot of people have heard of the company, but we grew the company from about 0 to 50 employees in about 2.5 years, $10 million a year, and raised about $2 million in venture capital, did the whole San Francisco thing, but also we gave away $4.2 million in $7 donations to charity, which is just mind-blowing even to this day for me. It's very humbling. But it was at this moment that I learned that companies can grow faster than people. And that was a scary statement to really take on, and realize that I couldn't read enough books. I couldn't listen to enough podcasts. I couldn't to keep up with the demand of my $275,000 every 2-week payroll. And to manage that, and to understand that I'm a creative entrepreneur. And it was hard for me to go, like, I got to let go. And I ran into panic attacks, anxiety attacks, insomnia. It took us down an interesting road of entrepreneurship, which really ultimately created the reasoning and the beliefs of my philosophy for writing this book here.
Yeah, I mean, what an incredible journey. And for Sevenly, just like, wow, because I'm starting to do a lot more philanthropic stuff after getting successful here on Smart Passive Income. I've built a couple schools in Ghana last year through pencilsofpromise.org, and I'm always looking for bigger things to do. And this is just completely inspiring. Oh, man, that's just so. Sorry, I'm just my mind's going crazy right now, because I love connecting with people who are always doing things for the greater good. And so, can you talk more about, I mean, what this means, people over profit? I mean, let's get right into the book and everything that we can learn from it. Most of my audience, they're just starting out online or have a business and are struggling to make money for themselves.
Yeah.
I don't even think a lot of them even can begin to think about how can they take what they're making from their business and turning that into something even bigger.
How does one be able to do that?
Yeah, so it's a hard decision, right? And I've since sold most of my stock in the company because I wanted a little bit of a shift direction and tons of purpose, and Sevenly was great, but ultimately just wanted to shift into a new, more of a lifestyle business that was less stressful, and that's what I'm doing now. But I'll tell you, and we still have great relationships with Sevenly, and still have some great input in the company. But I'll tell you, as a new entrepreneur trying to figure out how to integrate social good, it's hard. I mean, you're learning it right now, Pat, as you're trying to figure this out. One takeaway from the book is that, generosity needs to be built in, not tacked on. And that's a really hard thing to do as a new entrepreneur. So like when I just launched my new company, startupcamp.com, and I thought to myself, okay, like how do I integrate good here? It's not going to be maybe as fully implemented like it was at Sevenly, but it's not going to be, I'm not going to create a business that doesn't have it involved at all. So I decided to say, okay, let's just build it in. So I called Scott Harrison up at Charity Water and I said, hey man, I want to help. I love your charity. Out of all the charities that I've worked with obviously hundreds through Sevenly. Scott still continues to crush it in every area. And I said, hey, I want to give, $2.50 per month per membership at Startup Camp to you guys. And he loved that. And it was small. Last month, I think I cut a check for $1,200 to them, but it's built in. It's not tacked on. It's something small, and it's hard to add on later. I mean, you're seeing this now probably, Pat, is that when you don't build it in from the beginning, it's hard to go, okay, I have to decide how much money I want to give.
Right.
One lesson that I learned is, when I look at the success of social good models is there's, we know positive and negative knowledge gaps, right? So I talk about this in the book too, is that it's a positive knowledge gap is like saying something like, Pat, you have the second best podcast I've heard all year. You're immediately thinking, well, what's the first, right? That's having someone lean in. Well, a negative knowledge gap is when you say, we give 100% of the profits to charity. Your mind is thinking, well, how much is 100% of the profits? And how do you do that, right? Or we give 10% of all of our revenue to charity. Again, these are great, noble ideas, but they're very confusing to the consumer psychology. So, I mean, the reason Tom's was so stinking successful was that it was you buy a pair, you give a pair, right? Sevenly was you buy a product, we give $7. And we would even quantify it even more by saying like, hey, if you buy a product, give $7 this week, that $7 will feed a child for a month. So it's constantly removing any knowledge gap that some of these consumers might have. And that's what I would say start with is how can you start with anything? I mean, anything is better than nothing in the generosity game. And at the end of the day, there's no better ROI in the world than knowing the fact that you kept people alive. That you've saved girls from sex trafficking, that you've helped some family that's struggling with a child with autism. I mean, whatever your case may be, or your cause may be, like these are the things that are so incredibly important for businesses to think about.
It's always become like an afterthought for people. Like, oh, now I'm finally making money. Now I have something to do with it. So I like the idea of kind of thinking about that. And also using that as inspiration in the beginning to really move forward with what you need to do. But it's always easy to just be like, okay, well, here's a charity and I'll donate. Like, how can you make it really be something that your audience can see with these products that you're going to sell, that this is actually something that's meaningful to you versus just, like you said, something that's tacked on?
Yeah, what I do is I always do a report every month, and I say, in our private Facebook group or whatever, I say, hey guys, just want to let you guys know I cut the check this month. Here's a photo of it. Like we gave this much to this group. Scott, said that, this month the money's going to start going to Ghana, or next month maybe it might go to Burundi or whatever it is. But we try to get photos to reinforce those changes and remind people what that does. And it's a real struggle. Like every month, like sometimes I struggle with it. I'm like, gosh, like I don't want to cut this check. Like it's greed that gets into my mind, and I go like, I need this more. Like I only made $50,000 this month. Like I need to make $51,000. Like it's so ridiculous in our minds, and that's why generosity is one of these things that it's a lifelong lesson that, and it's really based in love. I mean, it's the idea of abundance and need, right? And anytime you can connect abundance with need, you're winning. That's what I've been trying to do in business, is try to figure out how we can connect those two in a way that makes sense for people. And it's baby steps, man. Like you don't need to drop in and like start being the Sevenly of the world, come in and do what I'm doing at $2.50 per $100 membership. It's a simple way to kind of get started.
Is it always money? Can charity be done in different ways beyond just, cutting a check and putting a portion of it? Yeah. Do you have any examples of that? Or?
Yeah, I have a quote in the book that says generosity is rarely about money. I mean, it's almost never about money. I mean, we only talk about money, but ultimately generosity is like so much about time. It's so much about listening. I mean, sometimes like, you just, it's serving. I mean, again, the main two things are time and money, but the time function has so many different variables and forms of it. So we have a chance in our companies to be very generous with our employees and with our time. And I used to do this at Sevenly, and I try to spend as much time as I possibly could with the staff, walking around, working on my company, not in it as much, to really make sure that I had that focus. And being generous is another way. Like I created a job title for someone called the Chief Culture Creator. His job was to just make sure that our employees felt taken care of. When you grow a company quickly, you'll realize that the number one thing that'll stop you is the ability to keep everybody happy. So I and it's a true need. And again, so I thought, okay, I need to spend an $80,000 salary to find someone who's really worth the ability to be very generous with these people. And that's a form of generosity. It's ultimately caring about people, and it's putting people above profits. I mean, we all need profit to survive. We know that. But it's this core of saying, like I really care about people, and I want to make sure that they feel like that they know that I know that.
For people who are just starting out and who are probably not even thinking about anything like this because they're still worried about even just turning a profit for themselves, how can we help inspire them to, think in this way when, maybe at the time in their business right now, it's not plausible?
Yeah. I mean, when I build a case in the book, I say, I believe, that valuing people over profit actually makes you more profitable. And I would say that I prove this through the book. That and the companies that I talk about are, I talk about Whole Foods and Patagonia and In-N-Out Burger and Chick-fil-A and Ben and Jerry's and, Tom Shoes and, there's a handful of other companies that Airbnb and some of these other great brands that are out there. And I look at these companies and their growth rates and also their employee retention rates and their brand perception and the things that they've done. And they've had all these same qualities. It's so interesting that they share all these same qualities. And they don't even know it. Like these qualities aren't written on their websites. They're not written on the door on the building. They're not written on the walls inside their HQ. They're just things that are done because of some sort of innate structural emotional leadership in the leaders of the company. And what's even crazier is that these things have, like, you'll never see these in Fast Company. You'll never see them in Entrepreneur Magazine. They're things that are not in Harvard Business Review. They're things that are taught to us in kindergarten. They're the very basic things that humans have struggled with forever. To not lie, to be yourself, to be transparent, to be authentic, to be generous, to share, to care about one another. It's the leaders that have been able to like lock down those lessons in a business mindset that just kick in. And they build these incredible cultures of people that work way harder than cultures without it. And they build up this consumer business relationship that is incredibly powerful, that you think, why would you do business any other way? But people still do. So these are some of these companies these stories that I get a chance to sell at Southwest. We all hear their incredible stories and some new companies like Buffer. And it's just a fun book proving that at the end of the day, love always wins. It always has. It always will. Truth, it does too. It wins. It always has. It always will. And we got to just harness these things as business leaders to just like crush it through the marketplace with integrity, with a good name, where people like you. You don't have to be one of these, idiotic, leaders that go, hey man, it's just business. It's not personal. Like those people are like the worst people on the planet. They're super dangerous. And because it is personal, right? We know that. So this is the kind of the backbone of the book is really kind of coming back to the core things of what it means to be a good leader.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've seen just in all industries the sort of transparency and the honesty movement, and that having a huge impact on the success of those businesses. I mean, that's something I incorporate into my business all the time, being it online in the internet marketing space. I mean, that is why I am where I'm at today, is just because I've been completely honest with people. And I think more people need to understand that that's what you have to do now, or else you kind of just look like you're hiding something.
Well, it's one of those things, like I said, like we have an incredible BS meter, right? We can sense that, especially anytime after a recession, consumerism is like increasingly skeptical. And I mean, we're still following like the 2008 fall, right? So like we don't trust brands. Capitalism is a dirty word. We're trying to figure out what business was meant to be like. I give a great story in the book, and I talk about 1965, the employee to CEO pay ratio was like 20-1. So if you made, say, $40,000, your CEO would make 800 grand. This is great, right? This is like a decent balance. I mean, I would even argue that the CEO has the right to make more, right? Mm-hmm. And it's the right to make as much as they want at the end of the day. But as we go in time, I started realizing, I started doing this study, and so 1975, just 15 years later, that shifted up to 150-1. Okay, and then so I mean, talk about a massive increase in the gap between employees and CEOs on publicly traded companies. This is all public information. We get up to like 1990, and we're talking like almost like 300-1. Then we get into 2008, and we're at 400-1, right? Then we move into some like 2012, and we see companies like Walmart or like JCPenney like 1,745-1. Like their CEOs are making more in an hour than most of their company or most of their employees do all year. It's just mind-boggling, right? And again, at the end of the day, it's just greed. I'm like thinking like, why aren't you investing this into your company? Why aren't you investing this into your people? Take a $2 million, $4 million, $8 million salary, whatever it is, but just make sure that you have to have a point and you go, hey, this is enough. That's not capitalism. That's ugly, disgusting business, and we know that there's no bad business, it's just bad leaders, right? So, this is what I'm here to help repair, is to say, let's get this message in the hearts and minds of entrepreneurs, of managers, of executives, of CEOs, to see if we could turn the world around a bit.
Yeah. I mean, this book's great. I love the way it's broken down. I love the quotes in there. I saw a quote by Anne Frank, "Nobody's ever gotten poor by giving." And that's one of my favorite quotes of all time too. And so tell me about actually the book writing process. Every time I have authors come on, I always ask about the book writing process because that's something I'm very interested in. So you went traditionally published, and how long did it take you from the moment you started writing to kind of yesterday when it came out?
Yeah, it took about 20 months, which is a long time. I mean, it is a little bit of an antiquated system. It's a really good system to go through to kind of feel out what it takes really to work with a publisher, to get a PR plan together, to get a marketing campaign together, to rally everybody to help support the mission of it, to try to hit the New York Times list. I mean, all these things. The writing process was really unique. I'm a blogger, right? So when I blog at Startup Camp, they're short, 800 to 1,000 word articles, and they're really easy for me. Writing a book, which is a short book. I hate long books because there's so many books that I've read halfway through. So I wrote this book. It's 32,000 words, which is about half the size of a normal business book. I wanted to keep it short, but still writing 32,000 words took the life out of me. I mean, it was so hard. It took me probably 4 months to get it done, and then I actually hired what I call a chief editor. It's someone between there's services where you would get, people hear about ghostwriters. Well, a real ghostwriter, there's no person that's like, hey, just write a book and then like bring it to me later. That doesn't exist. Like a real ghostwriter would say, okay, hey, I want to write a book, but you need to give me the content. I'll just write it. And then there's another service, which is called kind of like a light write, where you kind of write the first draft, and then you have like another really seasoned writer come in and like manipulate it with your guidance. Mm-hmm. And then you have like a chief editor that's like, you write it, you edit it, and then he's going to come in here and help with transition and tone and like make sure that it's like a book, that it reads like a book and not like 20 long articles, right?
Right.
So that's what I did. I hired a guy, and it was great to learn how to write, because I thought I knew how to write, and I knew how to write articles. I didn't know how to write books. And yeah, we got that experience and locked it down. And because we did that, I sent it to my editor or my publisher, and they're like, man, this thing's almost like ready to go. Like, good work. It saved us a ton of back and forth on the edits. And just super, super stoked. And I'll probably continue to write. Every 2 years, I think it's kind of a good timing to come out with a new book, because you want to focus on it for a couple years and get that message out. So it does have a cool life cycle there.
That's cool. A lot of people who I talk to who've completed their first book say, I will never do that again.
Yeah.
So that's good that you want to keep doing it. And actually, when your publisher sent me a preview, sort of advanced reader's copy, it was really cool how it came, because it came in this box or in its package, but then the book was inside this little sack or little bag.
Canvas. Yeah.
And it has a quote on it with a hashtag. So this one says, I don't know if they're all different or not, or if they're all the same, but this one says, how you make employees feel about themselves says a lot about your business. And then hashtag people over profit. So I think that's obviously super smart for marketing purposes. And you have those quotes with the hashtag throughout the book, which I think is cool. But just that was something when I got that and I opened it, I was like, wow, I'm excited to interview Dale because he pays attention to those small details. And you had mentioned before we started recording that's something you love to do. Like, it just seems like you know how to make people remember you. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, it's a hard thing. I remember. I'll actually say this. I talk about this in one of the later chapters, but I say that design has been one of the things that really drove me as an entrepreneur. I mean, I'm a designer by trade. I'm a creative by trade. I will commit most of my success to my ability to pay attention to small details, and I think the design has very little to do with knowing how to use Photoshop and the tools. It has everything to do with developing your eye, and so I'm constantly developing my eye for what's beautiful, and whether it's furniture, whether it's packaging, whether it's graphic design for my business card. I always ask myself the question before I put anything out: is there anything that I can do that'll make this a lot better for a little bit of money? The answer is almost always yes. I mean, it's actually I've never had a no to that. And when I was sending out the book, I said to myself, what can we do to make this a lot better for a little bit of money? And I thought, okay, everybody, I'm in the author space, so I get sent a lot of books and with letters and different things, and so I thought, okay, I want to just stand out, be a little bit different, right? Because branding at the core is just differentiation, right? I mean, we want to figure out how to be an orange dot in a sea of gray dots, right?
Yeah.
I called up Uline and I said, hey, do you guys have these really cool parts bags? They're like canvas parts bags. I was like, if I bought 1,000 of them, how much would that cost? And they're like, oh, it's going to cost you 6 cents a bag. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So I got this bag for 6 cents, and then I called a screen printer and I said, how much would it cost to print some quotes on these books? And he said, oh, I think we can do it for about 20 cents a print. It's one color, black, easy. And so I thought for 26 cents, I can really change the difference of this experience for people and especially the influencers that get these bags and the press and all that kind of stuff. And so if you order from me, my book, from peopleoverprofit.com /SPI, I have a deal for you guys there. You'll get your copy inside that bag too.
That's awesome. I love that. So just a few cents, just really, it's not about, that's not that much money, but you just took a little bit of time to actually think things through and differentiate yourself. I think that's something we could all learn from for sure.
Absolutely. It's looking at costs, because we got to be real, right? Costs are real. But yeah, there's always something you can usually add for a quarter that'll change the day.
Awesome. Now, before we finish up, Dale, I want to ask you one thing about, for everybody out there who's listening to this right now, and they're really, really wanting to do more than just, build a business, but actually build a business that matters. What 1 or 2 tips do you have for them before we let go today?
Yeah. A couple things is, just because you can doesn't mean you should. And just because it's smart doesn't mean it's right. And those two questions or statements, I guess, have guided me in a long way of making good decisions. And it makes you think before you make decisions. And especially, remember that every decision we make affects somebody else. So as a business leader, I think it's important to ask that. And, and ultimately it's, what got you here is not going to get you there. And so we have to always be growing. We have to constantly be changing. And I remember this, I thought, oh gosh, like I built a $10 million company. Like, what do I got to do something next? Like, what's next? Like, how do I even get to that mentality and that type of thinking? The people over profit philosophy, I think, is something that's really helping me get there, to make sure that, that I am continuing to grow on this journey. And then the last thing I'll say is, building these deep relationships as a CEO is really important as a business owner. Because experience alone doesn't make you better at anything. But experiencing deep, vulnerable relationships does. I remember a friend who came up to me and said, self-evaluation is helpful, but evaluation from someone else is essential. And I thought, okay, like I got to remember this, because I needed someone to be like iron sharpens iron. I needed someone to literally like give me the Dale, you got a booger on your face moment. And, it's always an awkward moment when you have to tell someone they have a booger on their face, right? So I had I dove into vulnerable, transparent, awkward, humiliating leadership relationships with mentors. It allowed me to see the vision, to look in the mirror with clarity on how my behavior affected other people, and whether it's my one employee, my 5 employees, my 2 customers, whatever it might be, my wife. And I remember the day that he came up to me and he says, Dale, he looked me in the eye and he says, Dale, you hurt people and you don't even see it.
Wow.
And I thought, oh God, and he told me the stories about these things that I would continue to do to people. And I thought, oh my gosh, I left a wake of destruction. And so learning, I think it qualifies me to write this book called People Over Profit, because it's a struggle that I've dealt with and I still deal with. And to look at people in our businesses and to use those people to ultimately, our companies aren't parts, right? They're people. So to grow those businesses, just treating people well has been the greatest asset for me in my position, at least.
I mean, that's something I take to heart because I am starting to grow a team myself too. And, making sure they're happy is my top priority. And when they do that, they're happy to do the work that they need to do, even though it's not always work that is necessarily the most enjoyable. Not saying that what I'm doing or making them do is bad, but it can be hard sometimes and stressful.
Sure.
But that relationship is definitely what helps keep people moving forward. That's for sure.
Absolutely. I love that.
Dale, thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate it. And again, you mentioned a link where people can get a special deal. Can you talk about what that deal is really quick?
Yeah. So if you go to peopleoverprofit.com /SPI, you can get a copy of my book, buy it there at the store and the store on the site. And you can come back and enter your receipt number, and we'll actually, there's a little spot there you'll see on the website where you can enter your receipt number, and you're going to get a copy of my ebook, People Matter, which is a great book. I actually don't like to put some of these bonuses with a book that aren't as good as the book, and I would say that this ebook is just as good as the book. There's a private podcast with me talking about the deeper questions, and there's a couple training videos that I discuss 3-minute training leadership tips that you're going to get for free as well. I was selling them for about $200 for this little kit. You're going to get it for free.
That's awesome. Thank you, Dale. We really appreciate that. And then as far as finding you online, where should we go?
At Dale Partridge on Pinterest, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. It's pretty easy to find me. I'm everywhere, and Pinterest is actually one of my main things. So you can find me, the manly man, on Pinterest.
Awesome, Dale. Thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And that's a wrap. Nice, Dale. Thank you so much.
That was really good, man.
Hey, thank you.
Wow. Thank you again for listening to today's interview with Dale Partridge. Again, you can find him at peopleoverprofit.com /SPI. And you can grab his book. It's an amazing read. And it's just one of those books that helps you think much bigger and shows you that there's so much more to do than just crunching the numbers and thinking about profit and money. But there are a lot of people out there that need help, who we can help, all of us. So again, check them out, dalepartridge.com /SPI. I also want to thank today's sponsors, audiobooks.com. You can get started with a 30-day free trial because, like me, you're probably busy. You're obviously listening to podcasts, and you can download information into your brain through audiobooks. I actually listen to most of my books. I don't read them just because it's a lot quicker and I can do it on the go. So I listen through audiobooks.com. And what's cool is they have a special deal specifically for SPI listeners. If you go to audiobooks.com /SPI, you can get a 30-day free trial. You can download one of any of their books for free and test that out. And you'll also get the audio version of my book, Let Go, exclusively here on audiobooks.com. Plus, you'll be entered into a drawing to win 3 months of audiobooks, which gives you a new credit for a brand new book every month. So go ahead and check it out. Go to audiobooks.com /SPI. Again, audiobooks.com /SPI.
Hey, and really quick, I want to let you know about a page on the website that might be really helpful for you. A lot of you are already taking action on what you've heard on the podcast, which is fantastic. But a lot of you have also messaged me asking for more, deeper information, more fine-tuned and highly targeted information for specific problems and pains that you might be having. So what I did was I actually put together a few courses. There's more courses actually coming down the road, but you could check out all the courses and things that are available to you there at smartpassiveincome.com/courses. My team and I have worked really hard to put together the best information that'll help you solve specific problems that you might be having in your business. So if you're just starting out and you need help and you need accountability, handholding, you want a community behind this as well, Check it out, smartpassiveincome.com/courses. You can see what's available there. All different kinds of courses to help you through a number of different things you might be working on. And like I said, there are more courses coming down the road too. So one more time, smartpassiveincome.com/courses.
Thanks again for listening in. All the links and resources are over at smartpassiveincome.com/session160. Again, smartpassiveincome.com/session160. And I can't wait to serve you in the next episode of the Smart Passive Income Podcast. See you next week. Cheers, and keep crushing it.
Thanks for listening to the Smart Passive Income Podcast at www.smartpassiveincome.com.
Look, I get it. You want to grow your business, but trying to sell to hundreds or even thousands of people gets very exhausting very fast. But what if you could sell at scale with a simple, powerful quiz? Score App helps you sell to more people without adding more to your plate. You build a quiz or assessment that your audience actually wants to take. Then they answer a few quick questions and get a personalized result right away. It shows them where they're at and what they need to do next and how you can help. And you build huge amounts of trust before you make even a single offer. No hard sell, no chasing leads, just value at scale. Get 50% off the first 3 months using the discount code SPI. All you have to do is just head to scoreapp.com/SPI. Again, that's scoreapp.com/SPI. More people dream about building their own business and being their own boss rather than retiring early. But a majority of them never even take the first steps to register the business. Why? Because starting a business can feel overwhelming. With legal forms, paperwork, finances, it's a lot. And that's where Taylor Brands comes in. Taylor is a complete business builder designed to make launching your business simple and stress-free. You can register your LLC in just minutes, keeping your personal and business assets separate from day one. And from there, you can get access to everything you need to get off the ground, from legal documents, licenses and permits, invoicing and bookkeeping tools, and even a 100-day business coaching program to help you hit the ground running. You'll also get a free personalized business plan, branding tools, and so much more. And of course, our listeners get an exclusive 35% discount to get started. Just head to taylorbrands.com/SPI. That's TAILORBRANDS.com/SPI. Stop dreaming, start building with Taylor Brands.